Mechthild of Magdeburg. I love saying that. It's a 13th century German Christian mystic, Mechthild of Magdeburg. And she said, "I cannot dance, O Lord, unless you lead." So our topic today is "There is more than enough." And that is a perfect quote to match the topic for today. There is always enough, but oh Lord, we're not going to get it unless we have a great relationship with God's Spirit, the infinite source, the unlimited potential, the almighty creativity. We're not going to be able to live that abundant life that's here for all of us unless we have an amazing relationship with God and the law of goodness. God is love, but there's lots of laws we need to realize are at work in our lives when we're open to them. The law of sufficiency, the law of cause and effect, the law of enoughness, the law of love. They're all things at work right now. But you and I have to plug into that. Ernest Holmes says, "We are born to be happy." Check your little meter. How are you doing? We are born to be happy, abundantly supplied with every good thing. Now, that doesn't say with everything we want, but with every good thing, abundantly supplied, to have fun in living, and to consciously unite with the divine power around us and within us, and to grow and expand forever. Doesn't that feel good? That's what we're given. But part of that is we have to comply with all those things. We all tap into that one source. Mechthild of Magdeburg also said, "Fish do not drown in water. Birds do not fall from the sky. In the fire of creation, God does not vanish, but the fire brightens." And that's our part. Since we're made in that image and likeness, we're here to brighten the fire of life. Just like that, I hope you dance. Brighten the fire of life. Now, I talked last week about my two favorite mystics. One I'm not even going to talk about today. But I am talking about Jesus. So, Jesus was the ultimate sufficiency teacher, the abundant teacher, the prosperity master. He said, with God, all things are possible. So do you see how it really depends on our belief in Spirit, our relationship with God, if all these possible things are going to happen in our life? We have to have a good relationship with God. All things are possible. That's that source we tap into. You know, there is also another law of growth. So there's an urge within us for more. It's that law of growth. We want more. Now, too often we want more consumerism, more stuff, more stuff. Does anybody have enough stuff yet? Has anybody started letting go of a few things? You know, but this law of more is being more in our life, being more, expanding our consciousness, because we do all tap into that same source, because we can only have as much good as we can embody, as we can accept, as we can hold. We can't have any more than that. We've been given that free will. And when Jesus said, "It is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom," kids, lack isn't part of the divine kingdom. So if we have a sense of lack in every area of our life, it's because we're withholding our own good. It's because some of us think, you know, there's only so much good to go around. So much love, so much money, so much joy, so much happiness. So either we become unworthy and don't think we deserve it, or we become greedy and try to hoard it all. Do you know what I mean? We're out of balance instead of realizing there's enough good everywhere, always. And you know, I cannot tell you how forgiving Spirit is. You know, if we just think about it, if you think about the sun shines evenly and equally on good and evil. And the rain falls equally on the righteous and the unrighteous. So don't say I've made a lot of mistakes in my life and I don't deserve a good life, because we all do. It's there for all of us, but we have to accept it. That lack part, well, first of all, I want to tell you, if you know it or not, everybody in this room is hugely successful. Hugely. It's just some of us aren't successful at the right things. We have to have this law of discernment, because success, truly the law of success is built into all of us too. But some of us are so successful at self-doubt. Right? Really successful there. And self-sabotage, oh my gosh, we are masters of that. You know, good comes our way and boom, we blow it. You know, because we haven't learned how to fully realize that we're all worthy of the goodness that's available. Every one of us. Jesus said, do not worry. And he told the story of the lilies of the field. He said, don't worry about your life, what you're going to eat, what you're going to drink, what you're going to wear. Consider the lilies of the field. They don't toil, they don't spin, they don't worry. And even Solomon in all his glory was not dressed as beautifully as these. And if God does this for the grasses of the field that are out there one day and in the oven the next, can you imagine what God will do for you? O ye of little faith. And here's that faith thing again. Seek ye the kingdom of heaven, and all else will be added. We have to plug in there first. If we want to know there's more than enough, even if our life isn't, unfolding exactly as it should, we are here to have the whole experience of life. The whole experience. And Mitch Tild of Magdeburg, she's my mystic for the day. I thought I'd try a woman for a while, but anyway, she said, we're given 2 wines to drink in this life. The red wine of sorrow and grief, and the white wine of joy and wonder. Until we have drunk deeply of both, we are just open. Until we've drunk deeply of both, we can't have the fullness of God. Can't. So this life, even though we might be in a slump right now, the sun's going to shine. We know that. That cycle, the cycle of life, it's always going. So I want you to think, really our experience of prosperity and enoughness all begins and ends in our mind, because our mind is simply reflecting our beliefs. Our thoughts and our thinking reflect our beliefs. And I want you to think, if we're thinking low-level, low-energy thoughts, that's what we're bringing into our life. That's what Ralph Waldo Emerson said. What a man thinks all day is what he is living. What a woman thinks all day, what a person thinks all day. It's not just the prayer in the morning or the affirmation in the evening that decides how your life is going to unfold. It's the culmination of the thoughts in your mind and what you've done with the healing of your subconscious thoughts. That distinguishes where your life is leading and how you express and determine your experiences. I want you to think right now, where are your thoughts leading you right now? Are they leading you to the kingdom of heaven and enoughness, or to the opposite? We decide. We can change like that and make up a new story and have a new idea. The parables were so important because they taught such important lessons. Jesus spoke simply. He spoke simply, but his lessons were in layers, and they'd meet you where you are. They'd meet you right where you are. And he taught that life is good. God is generous, gives freely to all alike. And God is forgiving. When he talked about probably the most famous parable of the story of the prodigal son. And there you go. We have responsibility here. He was very successful in getting his father to give him his inheritance early. Took a lot of, maneuvering there to get all your inheritance early. And his father graciously said yes, and he went out to a far country and spent his total inheritance on wild, raucous living. I'm sure it was fun spending it. because it wasn't so fun when he ended up the only job he could get, because there was famine and there was suffering in the country. The only job he could get was feeding the pigs, and he didn't even have enough to eat himself. So there you go, the law of compensation. But what happened to that younger son, the prodigal son, is he remembered, I can return to my father's house. Now, I probably won't be treated as my father's son, but maybe I could work as a servant. You feel the humility that came. Maybe I could work there as a servant. But once he went to the house and his father saw him, his father comes running towards him, just like Spirit does when we change our mind, change our thinking about things, and we start thinking in gratitude and appreciation and abundance, life changes. So the father came running to him and said, get the fatted calf, let's have a celebration. Well, the older brother wasn't too happy with that, right? Because he'd been working the fields and working at his dad's side, and the other brother went out and had a grand old time. So he thought, why are we giving him a celebration? And the father said, you have been with me all the time, and whatever I have is yours. But it's right to celebrate your younger brother, so get over it. He's come back home. And isn't that a lesson to us? Now, you can take that story wherever you are in your life. You can find forgiveness. You can find rehabilitation. You can find love. You can find generosity. You can find wherever you are. But it's a story of life and how we can turn around and make things so much better when we're ready. But we have to break away from the things that keep us stuck, the thoughts of lack, limitation, greed, selfishness, overindulgence, whatever it is, we have to let it go and live in that balance of life. In the balance of life, so we can use what we've been given. The birds in the sky do not fall, and the fish do not drown in the water. We're here to be abundant in this life that we've been given, but we have to use it well. We have to use what we've been given. Think of the gifts that you have. We each have a unique and wonderful piece of this puzzle of life. We're needed right now, and we've got to utilize what we have. You know, I was also looking at another parable of Jesus's, which is about the parable of the talents. And a talent at that time in ancient Greece and Rome, a talent was a unit of currency. Today it would be about $1.4 million. I want a talent. But anyway, a very wealthy master, was going on a long trip, so he called his servants to him. He said, I want you to take care of my property while I'm gone. And the servant that had been with him the longest, he gave 3 talents. It's a lot. And the second one, been with him the second longest time, he gave 2. And then the young that was kind of novice, he gave 1 talent. And they were all to take care of these talents. And when the master returned after quite some time, he came back, and the first 2, they'd done really well. They'd invested the money, and they had made a profit on it. And boy, that master said, good for you, and he rewarded them absolutely graciously and generously. The other one, he had that lack thought. You know that thing we were talking about, that lack mentality? And he was afraid he was going to lose it. He was going to invest it or do something and it would lose, so he buried it in the ground. And he said, Master, I was afraid I might lose it, so here, you have it back. And he said, what did he say? Unfaithful? I forget. He said, you something. You unfaithful servant. I had it right. You played it safe. And therefore there's a negative compensation. Oh, and listen to what he said. He said, throw that worthless slave into the outer darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Well, what he meant is that when we have unused talents in us. Because actually the word talent from back then morphed into meaning our own unique gifts and skills. When we don't use our gifts and skills, we moan and whine because our life is unfulfilled. Do you understand? I mean, that's a wonderful parable. We can meet it again wherever we are. We need to give of ourselves in a beautiful way to bring more to life, to bring more to life. Jesus said, and this was one of the greatest prosperity ideas for life, in just being in the flow of God's grace, because we're immersed in this infinite potential, and unlimited possibilities, but we decide how much we're going to use, and we go to this energy, this undifferentiated energy, and we decide what we're going to use. And some of us go scoop out a little thimble, full, and I'll use this much. Some take buckets, and some have this huge hose that just keeps us in the flow of life. Do you know what I mean? Just keeps them in the flow. And even when things aren't so good, then we can find the good, because we know there's good in everything if we can't see it. We have to let life expand and grow beyond the appearances. Now, I'm going to have us, okay, I said I wasn't going to mention his name. I'm so sorry. I'm just going to mention one name, because I just got some Rumi cards. Kirk, are you sick of them yet? I've had them 3 days. I love them. I mean, they're kind of deep and they're kind of different, but boy, they tell you exactly what's going on. So I did pull one, and it was called, in fact, I pulled it 3 times out of this whole pack in 3 days, but it's the Divine Mother, the gifts of the Divine Mother. And I'm going to have us do this, because at the end is always a little ritual you do. And so I'm just going to ask you, because we have to be open and willing to receive the gifts that's already been given. So right there with your left hand, which is your receiving hand, I just want you to put that hand humbly in front of you. Because the truth I know is that everyone here is deserving to get the abundance of the universe right now, that each one of you know how worthy, how much you matter, and that the gifts you have inside are not limited, but they're expansive and growing. So just hold that there, and if you want to close your eyes, that's fine. If you want to keep them open, gently open, that's fine too. But just in your mind's eye and with your open heart, just know with me that life is rich, full, and abundant. Please say that softly. Life is rich, full, and abundant. I graciously receive God's generous gifts. I know I'm worthy of all the good that is mine to have. I know I am worthy of all the good that is mine to have. I feel blessed, and I choose to be a blessing. I let my light shine, and I share my good with the world. And whatever way you want to do it, just spread it out there, because it's yours. Just let it go and see how bright it is. And know that when you move towards God, Spirit, whatever you want to call it, infinite love, it comes rushing to you. So I want you to take a moment after you've spread your good, feel yourself immersed in all of the joy, the wonder, the light, the peace, the beauty. Feel it as you're immersed in it, because it's the truth of life and the truth of who you are. It is so good to feel that, and as we open ourselves and plug into that infinite source of good, it just keeps flowing. And I just invite you right now to make a commitment to catch yourself. Catch yourself when you have those thoughts of lack, limitation, self-sabotage, not enoughness, self-doubt. Catch yourself, because we all do it. We're still alive. We're still here. We're still learning. Catch yourself and change those beliefs. Break them away. Don't be part of them anymore. Recognize they're just part of your smaller self. But now is the time. Now, here, in this moment, is time for all of us to live as our bigger selves, our more expanded selves, our higher selves. Do you agree with me? Yes. Okay, good. And if you don't, just fake it. So do you believe me? Yes. Okay. And as we know that together, we're simply going to say, and so it is. I love you all. I appreciate you all. I know this Thanksgiving is a time when I will send my blessings to each and every one, because I know this community is here for good, here for God, makes a difference. We do it together. Thank you for being my chosen family. And so it is.